The strange man passed through a mysterious rift and was transported to the modern world where humans lived. He went to a detective and asked him to help find a man whose daemon was a sea eagle. This man had traveled from the daemon world to the modern world, but the foolish detective wanted to raise the price of his service, so Carlo calmly showed him his snake daemon, which made the other man extremely scared and unable to say a word. After reaching an agreement, Carlo passed back through the rift to return to the daemon world. This was a world where magic and science coexisted. In this world, humans had a characteristic from birth. Their souls represented an animal. These small animals were commonly called daemons. Before the owner grew up, the daemon could freely change its form. Then it would stabilize into a single animal, representing the nature and character of its owner. However, daemons and humans shared the same life. If one of them died, the other would also leave this world. Since childhood, Lyra had been brought to Jordan Academy by her uncle Azriel to be raised. For many years, she waited for the day he would return. One day, Lyra heard that Azriel had returned from an expedition to the North Pole, so she sneaked into the conference room, hoping to surprise him. But while hiding, she discovered that the director had poisoned Azriel's glass of wine. Not long after, Azriel entered the conference room with his daemon. At the critical moment, Lyra rushed out and spilled the glass of wine. She told him that the director had poisoned it, but Azriel was not surprised at all. After that, he smashed the vase. Then Azriel pretended not to know anything. He hid Lyra in the chest. Azriel told her not to say anything. Lyra did not understand why Azriel, who was passionate about research, faced danger. It turned out that the cause was from two photos he brought back from the North Pole. The first photo showed a person surrounded by a mysterious halo that was dust. This conclusion terrified all the scholars, because in this world ruled by the church, statements related to dust were absolutely forbidden, and the second photo made people think even more about the existence of the magical world. At first glance, it was just a normal photo of the aurora, but after it was treated with a special chemical, suddenly a city appeared, floating in the sky within the aurora. This discovery could bring great disaster to the academy, because the church, in order to maintain its power, has always claimed that there is only one world in the universe. If the people knew that there were other worlds, the entire ruling system of the church would be seriously threatened. Therefore, they hid the method to go to other worlds. However, the people of the church could freely pass through an invisible wall to a modern world, where there were everything like phones, computers, and cars. Azriel knew that this discovery would put himself and the academy in danger, so he prepared to return to the Arctic. Lyra rushed to see her uncle. After hearing this news, she begged Azriel to take her with her, but he told Lyra that it would be very dangerous for her to follow him, and that her safety was related to the entire daemon world. Azriel finished speaking and pushed Lyra down. Not long after, the headmaster came to find her. He knew that Lyra was a person with too many secrets, but for her safety, the headmaster had to hand Lyra over to a woman named Coulter. Before she left, he carefully took out a compass made of gold. The headmaster told Lyra that this thing was very important. There were only 6 of them in the world. It would guide Lyra to find the truth. He solemnly told her to keep the compass a secret, not to tell anyone, otherwise her life would be in danger. After the headmaster finished instructing her, Lyra quickly ran to the spaceship that was starting up. Here she met the woman named Coulter that the headmaster mentioned, but Lyra didn't know that from then on, her fate would change completely. Carlo carefully took out his daemon, then gently dropped it on the ground. The beautiful Griselle began to crawl gracefully in one direction. Carlo followed it closely and finally came to an underground tomb. With Grizel's guidance, he found a pale skull. When Carlo touched the skull, he felt the seriousness of the matter. In this world, the church had absolute power, and they forbade anyone from discussing the theory of the second world. But in fact, the world ruled by the church was not the only one in the universe. Carlo was a high-ranking official of the church, so after finding out that someone had discovered the existence of another world from the explorer's skull, he went to report to the leader. Macphail ordered Carlo to conceal this news at all costs. If the truth was revealed, the church's rule would be threatened. At the same time, he would speed up the daemon separation experiment. If this experiment was successful, the church would rule the entire universe. After a long journey on the ship, Lyra followed Coulter to the splendid London. With such comfortable and pleasant living conditions, Lyra really wanted to bring her friend Roger to live with her. But she didn't know that as soon as she boarded the spaceship, Roger was kidnapped by the gobblers of the church. At the moment she boarded the spaceship, in this small room where Egyptian children were being held, Roger's friend Billy was also kidnapped here. Meanwhile, Lyra was living a happy life. But she didn't feel happy at all. Lyra felt more and more that Coulter was abnormal. Her daemon was Ozymandias. It could leave its master and act alone, because daemons in this world would die if they were too far away from their master. This discovery made Lyra very confused. She also saw Coulter and the church people secretly meeting, but before Lyra could hear the conversation clearly, she was caught by the church people. After that, Coulter was very angry. She ordered Ozymandias to attack Lyra's demon. No matter what form her little daemon took, it was no match for Ozymandias. When Daemon was crushed, Lyra lay on the ground and felt pain. Then Coulter warned Lyra for the last time. After this, Lyra lost all her trust in her. She took out the golden compass that the headmaster had given her. Lyra hoped to receive guidance from it, but the compass remained unchanged. Just as Lyra was starting to despair, it quietly began to move. The next day, Daemon reminded Lyra that if the church people and Coulter met, they must have a secret that they didn't want anyone to know. So when Coulter went out, Lyra decided to investigate this matter. But Coulter was a cautious person, so she always locked the door when she went out. Lyra had to crawl through the ventilation shaft to get into Coulter's study. Here Lyra found many strange experimental drawings. On it were drawings of strange machines and scenes of humans and daemons being separated. But Lyra did not know that Coulter was the leader of an organization called the Gobblers. They captured Egyptian children to the north to serve in extremely cruel soul-splitting experiments. Adele was a female reporter. She was forced into the car by Carlo. Then he suddenly reached out and grabbed her daemon butterfly. Then Carlo crushed it, causing Adele to die along with the butterfly. Because in this world, humans and daemons share the same life. If one dies, the other will die as well. Because Adele approached and warned Lyra of the danger at the party, she was dealt with by Carlo. After Lyra found out the truth about Coulter, she hurriedly took Daemon and escaped from this place. By the time Coulter discovered it, Lyra had already escaped from her control. On the way to escape, Lyra met the Egyptians who were looking for her child. She met the king of the Egyptians. After talking, Lyra discovered that many Egyptians' children had been kidnapped by the Gobblers. Lyra affirmed that Roger's disappearance was definitely related to this organization, so she decided to follow the Egyptians to find the missing children. At this time, Coulter led soldiers to Jordan Academy. She wanted to find all the information related to Lyra here. Finally, Coulter found a book related to the Golden Compass. She guessed that the headmaster definitely knew its whereabouts. After he said that the Golden Compass was in Lyra's possession, Coulter was extremely angry. She ordered that Lyra must be captured by all means. The next day, the church's spaceship discovered the Egyptians. Thanks to Billy's mother's help, Lyra was lucky to escape the soldiers' investigation. King John Foss saw that the situation was getting more and more serious, so he decided to immediately set off for the northern lands to search for the children. Lyra knew that the map of where the children were being held was in Coulter's study. That night, Tony and Benjamin quietly sneaked into her apartment. The two went to the study as Lyra instructed. Sure enough, they found the experimental blueprints there, but at this time, Daemon Ozymandias discovered them. Then Coulter ran up and shot Benjamin, and at the same time, his daemon was also defeated by Ozymandias. In order to buy time for Tony to escape, Benjamin tried to break free from Coulter. Then he jumped from above. Benjamin's daemon immediately died with him. At the same time, Lyra used the Golden Compass. She discovered that Benjamin had died. Lyra quickly told Farder Coram about this. But suddenly, two strange insects attacked Lyra. She stepped on one, but unfortunately she could not catch the other. Farder Coram told Lyra that this was the church's investigation insect. The other one had flown back to report. They had to leave for the north immediately. At this time, Tony had escaped and brought back a map. It showed that the children had been transferred to a laboratory in the North Pole. Then John Fa led the whole group to begin a dangerous journey. This bear was Iorek Bernison. It was once the king of the armored bears in Svalbard. Although facing a huge bear that could swallow her whole, Lyra did not feel nervous. She even wanted to ask for its help. But the armored bear was famous for its bravery and fighting skills, so it did not accept to be a bodyguard for a human girl. Lyra knew that if she wanted to find the kidnapped children, she would definitely need the help of Iorek Bernison. Then, Lyra went to the famous adventurer Lee Scoresby in town. He told her that Iorek Bernison had been banished from here many years ago because its armor was hidden by the church, which caused the Armored Bear clan to lose its prestige. The next day, Lyra went to find Iorek Bernison again. This time she made a deal with it. As long as Iorek Burnison agreed to help Lyra go to the north, she would help it find the armor. Then, Lyra took out the golden compass. Iorek Burnison also felt the mystery of this thing. Under Lyra's control, the golden compass pointed to the location where the armor was hidden. Iorek Burnison then rushed straight to the small town. It smashed open the church door and rushed in. The priest was thrown out of the window by the fat armored bear. At this time, a group of soldiers quickly surrounded the church. Iorek Burnison had regained its armor. The soldiers thought that the large number of people would be able to defeat it, but the bullets fired at Iorek Burnison had no effect. It roared angrily. In just a few minutes, the armored bear had defeated 2 soldiers. Then it pressed the captain to the ground and beat him up. Fortunately, Lyra appeared in time to stop it. At this time, Lee Scoresby also came over after. Being advised by the two, Iorek Burnison also let the captain go. Before leaving, Farder Coram took Lyra to see an old friend he had known for many years. This person was related to the witches. After he knew about the situation of the Egyptians, he gave Lyra a sprig of cloud pine. This was the only token to contact the witch. With it, the witch can be summoned to help in times of danger. After everything was ready, the group immediately set off to the north. At this time, the golden compass suddenly pointed to a direction for Lyra. It guided her to a place that needed her help. After Lyra hurriedly said goodbye to John Fa, she immediately rode Iorek Burnison and left. Following the instructions, they went to a mysterious countryside. The whole village was silent. No one was in sight. Lyra sensed that the place the compass pointed to was the wooden house ahead. She carefully pushed the door open and went inside, then suddenly discovered a boy lying on the ground, gasping for breath. Unexpectedly, this was Billy, who had been missing for many days. But the strange thing was that the boy's Daemon was not by his side. Lyra did not dare to delay. She brought Billy back quickly, but Billy losing his Daemon was like losing his soul. His life was in danger. Lee Scoresby guessed that this was the cruel experiment that the church was conducting. They were taking away the Daemons from the children. Because Billy lost his Daemon, he finally left this world. But things did not end there. Late at night, a group of masked men raided their tent. Lyra was also taken away by them. When she opened her eyes, she found herself in a secret base. When the other side asked Lyra to change her clothes, she saw the clothes in the drawer were exactly the same as the ones Billy had worn. It turned out that this was the church's horrible soul-splitting laboratory. Lyra was pinned to the ground by 2 people. Even though she struggled, she could not escape. They stuffed Lyra into an experimental device. Despite her painful pleas, the staff pretended not to hear. At this moment, a staff member coldly pushed the lever. A sharp blade was quickly lifted. Just as it was about to fall, Coulter arrived. Lyra tried to scream for help. Fortunately, Coulter discovered her in time. Then she released Lyra. Although Coulter had saved Lyra, the girl still did not trust this woman. She had kidnapped many children and even killed her good friend Billy. Coulter certainly had bad intentions. She immediately forced the girl to hand over the golden compass. Lyra immediately gave Coulter a sealed iron box. Then she hurriedly took out a tool to open it. A large insect suddenly flew out. Lyra took advantage of this moment to run out of the room. She used the object to break the code lock. Coulter was extremely angry. Then Lyra lifted her foot and pressed the alarm, causing the laboratory staff to rush out to check. At this time, Roger and the other children were also ready to escape. Lyra quickly returned to the control room. She wanted to destroy all the machines serving that cruel experiment. Lyra turned on all the power switches. She pushed the current to the highest level. Finally, the machines were broken due to overload. The children who were running away were stopped at the gate, but suddenly a few people appeared and knocked down the guards. It turned out that the Egyptians had arrived in time. When Lyra went out, she saw that the 2 sides were fighting fiercely. Then, when the Egyptians were about to lose, a dark figure suddenly appeared. In just a moment, the witch had ended the fight. The captured children were all rescued. Coulter saw that the situation could not be changed, so she reluctantly left. After Lyra said goodbye to the Egyptians, she took Roger and Iorek Burnison to the land of the armored bears. Azrael was also being held captive by the bear king Iofer Ragnason, but on the way, they encountered the cliff ghast monsters. In a panic, Lyra was thrown out of the hot air balloon. She fell down. Fortunately, the snow on the ground was very thick, so Lyra did not die. At this time, a giant armored bear appeared in front of her, but it was not Iorek Burnison. The bear escorted Lyra to a majestic and magnificent building. This place was the palace of the armored bears. On both sides of the palace were giant bear warriors in armor. Lyra trembled as she walked in front of Iofur Ragnarsson. While she was talking to the Bear King, Lyra accidentally revealed information about Auric Byrnason. The Bear King suddenly became angry when it heard this name. It seemed that Auric Byrnason was its enemy. Lyra suddenly had an idea. She claimed to be Auric Byrnason's Daemon. As long as the Bear King could defeat Auric Byrnason, Lyra could become Iofur Ragnarsson's demon. Although the Bear King was not very smart, it was not stupid either. Iofur Ragnarsson asked Lyra a question that only Daemon knew the answer to, but she could easily answer correctly. Iofur Ragnarsson heard the answer and chose to trust her. Auric Byrnason quickly ran to the palace. Lyra incited the Bear King to challenge Iofur Ragnarsson alone, because she was afraid that Auric Byrnason could not fight the whole bear army. Auric Byrnason did not blame Lyra. It also wanted to take this opportunity to regain its rightful place. The battle quickly began. Two giant polar bears charged at each other in the middle of the huge palace. The Bear King was young and an experienced warrior, so Auric Byrnason was quickly cornered and forced to retreat. It was seriously injured. Facing the dangerous attacks of the Bear King, Iofur Ragnarsson stepped on the dying Auric Byrnason under its feet. The Bear King wanted to use this victory to demonstrate its strength to the soldiers. Lyra looked at the seriously injured Auric Byrnason and felt very regretful. Lyra should not have provoked the Bear King at that time. Auric Byrnason roared angrily when it saw this. It realized that he had been tricked by Lyra. Just when the situation became critical, Auric Byrnason's recovery time ended. It used all its remaining strength to counterattack the Bear King. After a miserable cry, the battle finally ended. The armored bear soldiers all bowed their heads and recognized the new Bear King, Auric Byrnason. The next day, Auric Byrnason took Lyra to find Roger. The girl used the golden compass to know that the church had known about Iofur Ragnarsson's overthrow, so they had sent a large number of airships here to destroy the armored bear tribe. So Lyra had to quickly find Asriel before it was too late. Then, Auric Byrnason took the two of them to the top of the mountain. When it was dark, they arrived. From afar, they saw a flashing light in the middle of the mountainside. That was Asriel's laboratory. After going through so much hardship and suffering, she finally found her uncle. Asriel was also happy with Lyra's courage. At this time, his snow leopard Daemon discovered Roger. Suddenly, Asriel's expression became strange. After that, he enthusiastically told his servant to prepare a room for the boy to rest. Late at night, Asriel stood looking at the brilliant aurora outside the window. Daemon's Stelmaria reminded him that this was the most suitable time. It turned out that what Asriel was researching was also soul separation. Roger still had Daemon by his side. At this time, the church's airship army was about to arrive. The servant was about to take Lyra to safety, but she discovered that Roger was missing, so the servant could only reveal that Asriel had taken Roger away. Only then did Lyra realize the truth. It turned out that her uncle was also doing the same research as Coulter. Lyra shouted loudly for Auric Byrnason. Then they quickly ran to the top of the mountain to stop Asriel, but at this moment, they encountered the church's airship army. The battle between the two sides was very intense. Because the opponent was in the air, the armored bear was suppressed. Auric Byrnason quickly took Lyra away from the battle. They ran towards the top of the mountain. When Asriel discovered the battle below the mountain, he hurriedly captured Roger. Stelmaria also captured the boys Daemon. Asriel separated them and locked them in a specially made iron cage. Then, he used his strength to pull the knife. As soon as Lyra rushed to the scene, a powerful source of energy shot straight up into the sky. She saw a pillar of light made of dust shining down from the aurora. The sight stunned everyone on the battlefield. Immediately after, the pillar of light quickly shrank. A space crack leading to another world had been formed. Finally, Asriel had confirmed his research. Then, he took Stelmaria into that crack. When Lyra woke up, Roger was dead. She was in great pain, because Lyra realized that she had killed her friend. She did not understand why her uncle did that, and so Lyra decided to find out the truth about dust. She tried to stay calm and walked through the crack. The place Lyra arrived at was another world called Citagaza. This city looked very strange. There was no one here, but the fruits on the ground were still very fresh, proving that someone had left not long ago. At this time, Lyra still did not know all the strange things about this city. She walked into a tavern. Lyra hoped to find something to eat. Suddenly, someone appeared behind her. It was a boy named named Will. After listening to Will's explanation, Lyra let him go, but Will was surprised because she had a talking pet next to her. Lyra told him that this was her Daemon, but Will did not have a Daemon, and he was not from the same world as Lyra, but the two of them had both passed through the rift and arrived here. After a short conversation, the two of them discovered that they had many similarities. Although they were different in age and living world, they both arrived at this city at the same time. This must have been for some reason. In order to clarify everything, the two decided to go into the city to find answers. At this moment, Lyra saw people in the distance. She quickly chased after them. Finally, they caught the two girls. These girls said that not long ago, this city was attacked by dark forces, but the demons only attacked adults, so they were lucky to survive. The smart adults all ran away. Those who didn't run in time would have their souls taken away. That's why the city was so deserted. Will and Lyra came to an angel tower. Will took out his phone to take pictures of everything around him. When the two turned around, they saw a person standing motionless. It turned out that it was the person whose soul had been taken away by the demons. He looked like a dried corpse. Because space had a crack, many people knew about the existence of other worlds. The church had long ruled this world, so they were forced to act to deal with this event. While the high priest was extremely upset, the church captured a witch. They wanted the witch to tell them how to close the rift. The person in charge of the interrogation was Coulter, but she didn't care about that. Coulter just wanted to know where Lyra went. It turned out that the girl was her daughter. Coulter broke the branches on the witch's body. It was her source of energy. The witch tried to endure the terrible pain. Coulter wanted to know why the witches were interested in Lyra and what their prophecy was for her. At the same time, the witches were also worried and sad about Lyra's disappearance. They wanted to protect the child in the prophecy. Lyra would be the one to open a new world. She would overthrow the church's rule that had lasted for hundreds of years. The leader of the witches was Seraphina. She gave Lee Scoresby a special token. If he had any trouble finding Lyra, could use this token to summon her. At this time, the leader of another tribe, Ruta Scotti, came to find Seraphina. She wanted the two of them to go together to save a witch who had been captured by the church, but Seraphina refused because what she cared about now was news of Lyra. Although she did not receive help from Seraphina, Scotti still decided to risk breaking into the church headquarters alone. After being brutally tortured by Coulter, the captured witch could not bear it anymore. Finally, she said part of the prophecy. At the same time, Scotti was frantically speeding towards them, but the captured witch did not say the most important information because she could not betray her tribe. At this moment, Scotti finally arrived, but in order to prevent the secret from being revealed, Scotti was forced to kill the captured witch. At the same time, her Daemon also disappeared. An urgent meeting was held at the church headquarters. This man was the new high priest of the church. Because the church had kidnapped and tortured a witch, the witch, Scotti, was angry. She attacked and killed all the soldiers. When the church high priest went out to check the situation, he was unfortunately killed. Because of that, MacPhail officially took power. In order to avenge the dead high priest, the church decided to launch an attack on the witch clan. They loaded the airship with bombs, then flew to the witch mountain. Then, each bomb was dropped. The witch leader Seraphina could only helplessly watch her home being destroyed. From then on, a war between the witches and the church began. After Lyra and Will talked, the two discovered that they were both from Oxford, England. But Lyra came from a world where science and magic coexisted. Lyra wanted to learn about dark matter from Will's world, so the two of them went through the space door to the real world. Lyra was so excited that she ran outside and almost got hit by a speeding car. It was Lyra's first time in the modern world, so she felt a little uncomfortable. But Will kindly guided Lyra. They didn't know that they were being followed by someone else. It was Carlo. He was secretly planning something, and Lyra was very curious about the modern world. At this time, Will's phone also had a signal again. He received a lot of messages from his mother, so the two of them decided to separate. They arranged a time and place to meet. Then Lyra went to a museum. She wanted to find some information. With the guidance of the Golden Compass, Lyra went to a research room. She met a dark matter expert, Dr. Mary Malone. She wanted to ask the doctor for more information about this field. The doctor was very surprised that a young girl was interested in dark matter, so she took Lyra to the laboratory. After Lyra connected to the device, the dark matter signal appeared on the screen, which surprised Mary. She quickly wrote it down in her notebook. Dark matter is like the Golden Compass. It can answer all their problems. Lyra realized that Dr. Mary was an extremely important person. There was something she had to do. She even had to bring the I Ching from home. At this moment, Lyra remembered the time she had made an appointment with Will, so she hurriedly left. Will had waited for a long time, so he felt extremely angry, because in this real world, he was a murderer. The police were looking for him everywhere. Then the two of them returned to Citagaza together. The next day, Lyra went to find Dr. Mary alone, but before they could talk much, a police policeman arrived. In fact, he was Carlo's subordinate. During the conversation, the doctor attracted the police's attention, giving Lyra the opportunity to run out of the office. But Lyra did not know that she had fallen into a carefully planned plot. A falcon came to find Iorek Bernison. The falcon politely greeted the bear because it had something to ask. But before the falcon could speak, Iorek Bernison coldly refused to listen. This falcon was the Daemon of the witch Seraphina. But the bear did not care. It turned its head to leave. But the purpose of the falcon's visit this time was to ask about Lyra's whereabouts. When Iorek Bernison heard this name, it immediately stopped because she was its good friend. The falcon said that the war between the church and the witch had begun. Lyra was the child in the prophecy, so the witch wanted to protect her, so Seraphina had sent her Daemon to find news of Lyra. Iorek Bernison told the falcon that Lyra had gone through the space rift. After getting the answer, the falcon hurriedly left. At this time, Lyra was being chased by a strange man because she was holding the precious golden compass. Lyra gasped. Finally, she had to stop. A car stopped right next to Lyra. Carlo pretended to pass by. He asked Lyra if she wanted a ride. Faced with the strange man's pursuit, Lyra had no choice but to get in the car. They quickly escaped from that man. But after the car had gone a distance, Lyra felt something was wrong. It seemed that Carlo wanted to take her somewhere. Lyra began to panic, but Carlo still let her get off car. He also kindly reminded her not to forget to take her bag. When Lyra opened the bag, she found that the golden compass in the bag had disappeared. Only then did Lyra realize the truth. Obviously, the strange man chasing and Carlo appearing were all pre-arranged. At this time, Will was looking for Lyra in Citagaza. He accidentally discovered a person who seemed to be sneaking around. Will chased after him and saw that person leaning against the windowsill. There seemed to be something strange on the opposite side. Turned out to be the little girl Will met the day before. The little girl said that there was a figure in the angel tower on the opposite side. It was possible that it was a ghost because the tower had no door. This made Will feel strange. When he was about to continue looking for Lyra, he found a piece of paper on the table. Lyra sent a message that she had gone to the real world. Will hurriedly went through the space rift. At this time, Lyra was sad because she had lost the golden compass, and Will was also very disappointed when he knew about this. He wanted to use the golden compass to find his father, so Will would definitely help Lyra find it. At this time, Lyra's Daemon said that Carlo had left her a business card, so the two of them followed the information on the business card to find his house. It seemed that Carlo had been waiting for them for a long time, and then he took out the golden compass. Carlo revealed the two of them's true identities and backgrounds, and he had also known that they were in Citagaza City. Finally, the three of them reached an agreement. Carlo told Will and Lyra to go to the angel tower to find a knife and use it to exchange for the golden compass. The origin of that knife was very special. It could tear space, creating a door to any world. Lyra and Will then returned to Citagaza City. The two looked towards the angel tower. They began to search for the entrance, but they walked around the tower without seeing any doors. But yesterday, Will discovered that there was someone inside, so there must be an entrance. Finally, they discovered a passage in a hidden corner, above which was an angel statue. The two opened the door and walked inside. They began to search everywhere, but did not find the knife. Then the two went up the stairs leading to the top of the tower. They did not know that there was a shadow secretly following them behind. At the top of the tower, the two saw an old man tied up with ropes. He claimed that he was the one holding the knife, but someone had stolen it. Soon after, the thief also appeared. In his hand was the legendary magic knife. The thief swung the knife and easily cut off the head of the angel statue, making Lyra and Will very scared. However, because of the golden compass, Will still rushed in. He wanted to snatch the knife from the opponent's hand. With great difficulty, Will managed to control the thief, causing the magic knife to fly away. But the thief pushed him out of the window. In the dangerous situation, the old man reached out to grab the thief, while Lyra pulled Will back inside. After escaping danger, the two rushed towards the magic knife, but the thief was faster. Will's two fingers were immediately cut off. The pain made Will angry. He rushed forward, pressed him down and hit him continuously. The thief was in pain and let go of his hand. Will quickly picked up the magic knife. The thief saw this and had to run away. At this time, the danger was over, but Will felt the pain more clearly. In the end, he couldn't bear it and fainted. When Will woke up, it was already the next day. At this time, old man Giacomo told a secret. He took off his glove to reveal a hand missing two fingers like Will. This was the price to pay for being chosen by the magic knife, and from now on, Will would be the one to inherit this knife. Giacomo then told him about its properties. Both edges of the knife were engraved with patterns. One side could cut through all matter in the world. The other side could open up space to another world. Then he began to personally teach Will. Under Giacomo's careful instruction, Will was confident in using it. He held the knife and slowly cut down a line, and immediately a gap appeared. The way to close the gap was extremely simple, like pulling a zipper. After telling Will to protect the magic knife, Giacomo went to the top of the tower alone. Without the protection of magic, he was quickly stripped of his soul by the devil. But this was also the fate that Giacomo had accepted. After getting the magic knife, Lyra and Will decided to go get the golden compass back. So Will opened the space right on the road. They found that on the opposite side was the modern world, but this place was still quite far from Carlo's house. So he opened another space. This time, it was very close to Carlo's house. Finally, the two found his house right under the Angel Tower. Then they waited until nightfall to act. The two went into the Angel Tower, and Will opened a space crack. They saw Carlo waiting. The two planned to distract him to get the golden compass back. Lyra would go knock on Carlo's door. Meanwhile, Will would open the space to enter his house. But when he was about to get the golden compass, a golden monkey suddenly rushed out. It turned out that Coulter was also there. Ozymandias was her daemon. Lyra heard a miserable cry in the house and rushed inside. However, when Lyra saw Coulter, she reflexively turned around and ran away. But Carlo blocked Lyra's path. Coulter looked at her daughter, who had not seen her for a long time. With affection in her eyes, Coulter took the initiative to give Lyra the golden compass. She said that what she was doing was only to protect Lyra, but Lyra suddenly told her daemon to attack Coulter's daemon. Then Ozymandias was controlled. Coulter also fell to the ground and could not move. At the same time, Will also escaped from Carlo. He took Lyra and ran through the space rift back to Citagaza city. In order to bring her daughter back to her, Coulter decided to go there too, but Carlo told her that there were many demons there. They specialized in attacking adults. Coulter heard that and immediately understood the reason. It was very likely that the demons had swallowed dust. That was what she had been researching for more than 10 years. This made Coulter even more determined to go there. The next day, the two of them set off for the city of Citagaza, but not long after, a group of demons arrived. Carlo was so scared that he hid in the house, while Coulter calmly continued walking. The demons kept surrounding Coulter, but they did not attack her. The demons even followed her orders, which surprised Carlo, but he was also very happy because from now on the initiative was in their hands. But the two of them searched for a whole day, but still could not find Lyra. When Coulter was feeling suspicious, a witch named Lena appeared. She warned Coulter that there were demons in this place, and Coulter should leave quickly. But Coulter suddenly attacked Lena, which surprised the witch. Coulter then forced Lena to tell her purpose for coming to Citagaza. Faced with the threat of her life, the witch had no choice but to tell the truth. She came here for Lyra, because according to the prophecy of the ancient book, Lyra has another identity, which is Eve. In the future, there will be a great war, and Lyra will be the one to end it. Coulter found it hard to believe. In history, Eve's all ended up falling. In order to protect her daughter, Coulter decided to take her away, but her decision was contrary to her husband's. Then Coulter went to the top of the tower. She told all the demons to search for Lyra. They quickly found Lyra resting in the mountain. Then Coulter ordered the demons to drain all of Lena's souls. Although Will was nowhere to be seen, Coulter did not care about him. At the same time, Azrael appeared on the other side of the cave. He kept shouting towards the sky. Azrael begged the angels for help. He wanted to overthrow the church to create a free and democratic country. So the movie His Dark Materials ended. Goodbye, and see you in the next movie.